It's beyond grazing to the just point of nonstop decadent foods. Anything in the form of probably high-calorie, high-fat snacks from beginning to end seems to be sort of on the menu.
Diehard Philadelphia Eagles and New England Patriots fans aren't the only ones who can't wait for Super Bowl 52 to kick off from U.S. Bank Stadium in Minneapolis on February 4th. Everyone who loves football and Super Bowl parties are anxiously awaiting the big game. Thanksgiving is America's biggest eating holiday, followed by the Super Bowl. On game day, the average American will consume at least 2,400 calories just during the 4 to 5 hour telecast. That's well above the amount of calories recommended for an entire day. However, it's possible to have a Super Bowl party without going calorie crazy. On today's Sound Living, super snacks, super drinks, and super activity. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. According to the National Chicken Council, more than 1.3 billion wings will be inhaled on Super Bowl Sunday. Pizza is also a fan favorite, with 67% more pizza consumed on Super Bowl Sunday. In addition, fans will spend $1.3 billion on alcohol, $227 million on potato chips, $89 million on popcorn, $58 million on deli sandwiches, $13 million on veggie trays, and $10 million on dips. And if you plan to make guacamole, buy the avocados early. The Avocado Board estimates that 105 million pounds of avocados will be devoured on Super Bowl Sunday. Whether you're a football fan or not, there's something special about the Super Bowl. K-State Research and Extension Nutrition Specialist Sandy Procter says it might be because everyone is ready for a party.
It's gray, it's cold in most places anyway, and the Super Bowl is, I believe, being played in Minnesota, so we're talking a place that embraces the cold, but it's a cold time of year. We're past the holidays, and so we're really looking to hang our hats on something that's got a party related to it.
One thing we run into during the Super Bowl party is the fact that it kind of turns into a grazing day. How do we make that maybe a little bit more of a healthy grazing day?
Well, I think you're actually being pretty nice. It's beyond grazing to the just point of nonstop decadent foods for the most part. When you think about what traditionally is served, there's it started off, I think, probably back in the early days of the Super Bowl with that's when we'll order a pizza or something. And now it just is truly heightened to an ongoing, as you said, grazing, but anything in the form of probably high-calorie, high-fat snacks from beginning to end seems to be sort of on the menu.
Well, and we used to just watch the game, but now we've got, 3-4 hours of pregame, couple hours of postgame. It's an all-day affair, and as part of that, I think we probably, I hate to admit it, but I think our family probably puts out more stuff for the Super Bowl than we have for Christmas or Thanksgiving.
Well, I think that's sort of the trend. And if you look online, you see that everybody has their own ideas for, the perfect whatever, fill-in-the-blank recipe. And honestly, what it does seem to be is just a collection of who can sort of one-up the previous with some sort of really kind of high-fat, high-calorie, high-salt snack item that can loosely be related to finger foods that have something to do with just a party or a sports bar attitude. Finger foods like wings and other types of snacks just seem to be sort of the message. Again, whether it's one of those community meetings or a church group, it does always come with snacks.
We know we're going to eat, so how do we maybe approach this? Do we try and limit what we put out? How do we do this?
I think it starts with the timing of the rest of the day. The game itself is going to be at a set time. So how will you prepare your family, and if you're hosting, maybe your guests, for sort of a healthy setting? We always talk to families about make sure that if you have a big event or you have something that's going to have a lot of foods that may be those sometimes foods, where maybe less than healthy or more of them than usual, to be sure that you center the rest of the day on healthy schedules and meals and activities so that it's not just an entire day. It really narrows down the opportunity for some of those less than healthy behaviors to come in.
I think one of the things you're talking about is being active throughout the day and not just becoming a couch potato in front of the TV. And I know we were talking earlier about the fact that some people like the commercials more than they really like the football game, but it is kind of a thing that where you do get glued into the television.
Well, and it certainly is marketed that way, and it's true. The lives of the Super Bowl commercials are almost as big, or in some circles bigger, than the game itself, depending on who finally ends up playing in it. And so to tell people to get active during the commercials may go against what they actually watch for. So I think my message is, figure out how throughout the day, throughout the game process, as you mentioned, the elongated halftime show, figure out how you can be active throughout, just to get up and move around, even if it's just a matter of a few movements and then, returning to the couch until the next time out or something. But figuring out what's important. I would suggest maybe doing some places where you actually are watching some of the ads, but at a timeout, or I guess the timeouts come with commercials. But during a time where you can fit in some, sort of like 30-second activities or something, have some of those ideas ahead of time where you kind of stop and do some activities just to get up and moving. Stretch, get up off the couch, rearrange seats, just sort of get up, move around, to give it sort of an idea of not just getting in, nesting, and eating your way into leftover Monday.
Well, it could be kind of a fun game for kids, too. Somebody scores a touchdown, you got to go out and run around the house 3 times or something. You can kind of make your own game out of this.
Yeah, I think so. And I think just planning ahead for people to come knowing there's going to be physical activity, or for people who are interested to bring their yoga mats and we're going to do stretches during the third quarter or something, whatever it might be, but something to build in some activity and some movement, I think will be welcomed by a lot of people. That's a lot of sitting. And like I said, these are gray and cold times, and most of us have been sitting too much as it is.
Well, and some people are not used to really sitting that much. For some people, they may really want to get up and move around, and this might give them a reason to do it without looking suspicious.
Well, I, for one, and this hasn't got anything to do with the Super Bowl, but I have always told my husband that to me, NFL means neatly folded laundry. I get up and go get baskets of clothes and bring them back and manage that, because to me, it's not enough just to be staring at a screen. I got to be doing something else too. It doesn't command my full attention. Not that people at a party want to fold laundry, but I do think having other activities or things that are going on, or even a game that's running during the game, but something to keep people sort of energized and maybe, their attention on something more than just refilling their plates, because a lot of people need more to attract their attention than just what's on the TV.
You kind of mentioned one thing I was thinking about, and that is plates. Sometimes using slightly smaller plates will help, and maybe if you do have a lot of things, I know one of the things I like to do is really look things over before I start loading up my plate. I
think that's a good idea, and I definitely was going to mention the size of plates, because if you plan to make this your meal, and you've worked it in calorie-wise and this is what you're going to eat, then I still would say start small and start slow, like you said, and maybe fill up on some of those lower calorie things first, like have a plate that's pretty much vegetables before you dive into some of the sauced and cheesed nuggets that are there for your choosing as well. And the other thing, I think if you're taking something to the party or if you're hosting the party, be sure you give some thought to how you might be able to really improve the health quality of some of the things that you're offering. There's a lot of healthy choices out there for this kind of an event.
There are things we can do that will cut the sodium, we can cut the fat, the type of cream cheese we use can all help to reduce the calorie count.
And sour cream, too. Go to a lower fat version. Exactly. And to make some of these healthy switches, and I'm not recommending any one place, but the website eatingwell.com has lots of suggestions for a Super Bowl party that really play on some of the familiar flavors and themes that we are used to for something like this, like a sriracha buffalo cauliflower bite dish as opposed to maybe just the typical wings. or sweet potato skins with guacamole. So really focusing on some of those bright-colored vegetables. But the recipes sound great, and the healthful quality comes through in some of those vegetable-based things, whole grain chips instead of the usual things, and then a variety of hummus, whether it's avocado hummus or garlic, some of those really healthful but delicious sort of options that are really going to give people some variety other than the typical queso and some of the things that we know are maybe less than healthy.
You brought up something that a lot of people don't think about when they're making their menu is the fruits and the vegetables and giving people a lot of options. We often will take vegetables or fruit somewhere, and it's always gone.
It is. And people a lot of times will think, oh, it's this kind of a meal. I have to bring a dessert or something. But I think we're reinforced in these smart decisions when we see that how popular some of these items can be. If you're going to have all these little dishes, what about some type of small salad or fruit item that still fits with sort of the party theme? Maybe it's really bright colored with all different kinds of cabbage and beans, or a salsa that is really healthful based rather than some of the higher fat, higher calorie, higher salt versions that we see. I wanted to say I saw a chef that was reporting that he had been doing a contest. He wanted to find healthful recipes for the Super Bowl. And one of the winners was a young boy. He was about 9 years old. And it was a recipe his grandmother had given him. And she was a SNAP Ed educator. And it was a recipe that is one very much like one that we use, that is a black bean fiesta salsa, and has black beans and all kinds of green pepper and chopped up tomatoes and just really wonderful combination of food, some corn. So it's very bright. It's flavorful. You use as an ingredient some other salsa in it so that it really is appealing to the eye. It's tasty. And now it's an award winner on a recipe that he learned from basically SNAP Ed lessons that his grandma teaches. So I thought that was really worth reporting. Some of those veggie salsas, they're going to be welcome. You're not going to be the only one that wants something healthy to choose from.
And there's a lot more healthy chip options out there as well.
There really are. But remember that you don't even have to go to the expense of buying some of those. But there are. They're whole grain. There are pita chips and some of those things that have some really healthy choices to them. But remember, popcorn is a whole grain and is a very filling item. It's inexpensive, and it is definitely something that fits in with the whole game theme. And there are even some fun recipes you can do that don't add a lot of the negative sides to it, but can really sort of party up your popcorn. And the same thing goes for drinks. We oftentimes think that the drinks that are available end up being sort of high calorie, maybe high alcohol, depending on what you offer. And there's a lot of healthy choices out there. But if I were hosting a party, I would make sure to have a lot of non-alcoholic and just hydrating beverages there. Little bottles of water or carafe of fruit-infused waters for people to choose because, again, it's a lot of salty food. It's dry this time of year. And we know that people who drink enough water are less likely to catch colds and to have some of the lingering effects of stuff that's going around. So I'd encourage people to put out healthful beverages alongside of party drinks as well.
Well, and as you mentioned, it is a celebration, something that everybody looks forward to, and it's a fun day, but it doesn't necessarily have to be one of those days where you go to bed feeling like, wow, I really overdid it.
You really have 3 areas that you can affect here. You're looking at super snacks, super drinks, and super activities. So really, it's kind of up to you if you're hosting this party or if you're just attending. We can contribute to the healthfulness of an event, but knowing that the next day it's important to get back on eating healthfully, and even if you spent a little too much time in some of those sometime choices that we make all along the way, that the next day is a new day, and to get right back on eating healthfully and making that the rule rather than the exception.
That's K-State Research and Extension Nutrition Specialist Sandy Procter. More information on healthful eating is available at county and district extension offices and on the extension website www.ksre.ksu.edu. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.